Welcome back everybody to another video on my Nissan 300ZX. In the last video I showed you guys that my engine is toast and that we were going to need to get another one. So I had picked up another engine and that engine turned out to be no good. It had a bad rod bearing and the crank was messed up, so that one was no good. I had a whole bunch of content of me tearing that one apart, but it was just quite a bit boring when I was editing it. So in this one, I'm going to be tearing everything out. I'm going to kind of go over the things that you need to do to take this engine out. And I guess for the most part, any engine, but we'll go over a few steps on taking this engine out and what's going to make it easier to take it out on a twin turbo. So that other engine that I had picked up, I ended up getting from somebody that I found on OfferUp. I didn't spend any money on it. I traded him a transmission that I had that was that needed a rebuild. That transmission was getting stuck, I think, in like third or fourth gear. I can't remember exactly, but it was getting stuck in gear. And he knew that the transmission was no good, and the engine that he was trading me for that transmission, he also didn't know if it was any good, so it was kind of a gamble. But yeah, it ended up being that the engine was, well, it ended up being that the crank was no good because one of the rod bearings was bad. But maybe in the future we could still use that block for a build, you know, in the future. Maybe we'll see when I have time to actually tear that one all the way down. I took it part of the way apart. Once I started taking it apart, I decided why didn't I just take the oil pan off and figure out if there was anything wrong in the bottom end. And that's when I found that the rod bearing was well, the one that was obvious was bad. There were a few other ones that looked like they could have been bad, but I only took the one off, and once I realized that one was bad, there was no use in continuing on taking it apart. Oh yeah, that thing is screwed. Hardcore. The crank is done. There's no more bearing here at all. So there you can see how screwed up that is. And then here on the cap, it's all jacked up too. So yeah, the crank feels really bad. So in the meantime, I have been looking for another engine, but there's not very many engines for sale anymore. I remember when we used to be able to get parts for these like everywhere. They were like giving them away pretty much because nobody wanted these cars. And now everybody wants these things now, and everything is getting so expensive. But still on the search for an engine. Not sure if it's going to end up being the VG that goes in this car, or if it's going to be a J30 VG. But whatever it is, I'm gonna keep searching, and in the meantime, take this one out and just be putting parts off to the side that we're gonna be using on the other engine. That way I have it ready for whenever I do get another engine, just be ready to put everything back together and swap it back in. So obviously the first couple things that you're gonna need to do when pulling any engine is draining fluids. So this one should still have coolant and transmission fluid, and it might still have some oil. Who knows? It blew a lot of that out. But you're gonna need to drain all your fluids. The way that I pull these engines is I pull it all out as an assembly and work on it outside of the car. It just seems easier for me. It's always been easier that way. But for the most part, start by draining your fluids, and I always go to the bottom first. I start taking the drive shaft off, the exhaust, anything that is going to get in the way underneath. But I think one of the main things that got in my way the last time was the steering shaft. There's people that say that they dropped the subframe a little bit, and I got away with not doing any of that. But when I was putting it in, the steering shaft was getting in my way, and I was able to go around it, but still, that it would have made it a lot easier if I would have just taken the steering shaft out. But anyways, start off with your fluids. Drain all your fluids. So I got all the fluids draining right now, and I have no rush in taking this apart. So I'm just gonna leave these draining. The engine oil already drained, and I'm gonna leave the coolant and the diff just draining overnight. I'm gonna leave it like that for now and get back on it in the morning. Alright guys, so I stopped for a quick second. I got pretty much everything taken apart. Everything underneath that I could see is taken apart. The exhaust, the drive shaft, what else? Motor mounts, or the motor mount bolts are off. Everything up here that I could see that I could take off. You don't have to take off the alternator, the power steering pump, or the AC compressor. You can leave that on and take it off once it's out of the car. I was looking at the steering shaft. I might just leave that again like how I did last time and see if I can get it out. If not, I'll take it off once I get stuck somewhere. But the main reason I stopped was the harness for the alternator. It's the alternator, the starter, and then for the transmission. You can leave that all on and unplug these connectors here, and this comes with the whole engine and transmission. So just make sure you unplug these. I think it's just these 4 connectors, and then that's it. We should be ready to pull this engine and transmission. And I think it's only been, I think I started at like 9:40. What time is it right now? It's 11:48 right now, so it's been about a little over 2 hours, and we're almost ready to pull this whole thing out. Pretty fast, but I mean, we when I put this all together, I did all the deletes on it and it took off as much crap as I could off of it, so it would be easy to pull if I had to. But anyways, let's continue and see how much longer it takes me to take the engine out. So there it is, guys. We got the engine out. It's 12:51 right now, so it took about 3 hours, a little over 3 hours to do. But it really wasn't that bad. Thank God for all the deletes, but actually remembering where everything went. The only thing I completely spaced was this, the slave cylinder. I know I was down there and I completely forgot to take it off. It was the only thing that was getting caught up when I was pulling the engine out. But besides that, everything came out fairly easy. But this, for me, is the easiest way to pull this engine. I'm sure there's other ways that people do it, and maybe other people pull it way faster. I'm sure somebody will say that they do it in 30 minutes. But it took me 3 hours. I think that's pretty quick. So I was just looking at everything that I took apart on the car, and it's kind of crazy to think that this is all that came off. Like, when you think about how cramped the engine bay is, it's just the plenum, the coils, the pipes, these charge pipes and intake pipes, and I mean, the radiator, the drive shaft, and the cooling fan. It's kind of crazy because, yeah, most of it stays on the engine. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start taking this all apart so that I could at least have like the major parts taken off, like the turbos and exhaust manifolds put off to the side, the transmission and clutch off to the side, and really that's it. I don't know, all the oil pan, I need to take the oil pan off eventually. take the oil pan off and get that fixed because my oil pan is leaking. The bottom of the oil pan is leaking. Also, what I really wanted to do, maybe when I get the exhaust, when I get the oil pan fixed, I'm gonna see if that same person, whoever ends up fixing it, if they can make these down pipes to what do you call it, to V-band flanges, to get rid of those flanges and put V-bands on them. So when I make the exhaust, it's just on V-bands. Because that exhaust that I took off, it's not going back on. I'm gonna end up doing a different exhaust setup, of more than likely some sort of straight pipe with resonators. But I think that's gonna be it for this one. I think I got a lot done today, but even those 3 hours got me kind of tired, so I'm calling it for today. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this and this helps you out when you're pulling your engine. See you on the next one. Peace.